from New York. No, we are in Laguna Woods, and it's the Laguna Woods Show with your host and moderator, Esther Grossfield. Here's Esther.
Hi, welcome to the Laguna Woods Show, where every guest matters. Today we have a very special guest. She's going to talk about Medicare scams, and her name is Micki Nozaki. Hi, Micki.
Hi, Esther. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to come to your show and talk to your Laguna Woods audience about Medicare fraud.
Yes. What is the nature of your job?
Well, I'm the state director for a nonprofit organization called Senior Medicare Patrol. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a Senior Medicare Patrol in every state in the country because Medicare fraud is rampant across the country. We get funding from the Department of Health and Human Services. Every 3 years, they award a grant to our organization. We go out and we do an awful lot of education about fraud and how people can prevent themselves from becoming victims of fraud. Because Medicare fraud is so prevalent. You know, Medicare's been around for over 50 years. And there are a lot of providers, suppliers, people who enroll in the Medicare system to provide supplies and services to beneficiaries. And some of them, not a whole lot, but some of them kind of trick the system and they do fraudulent billing. And it amounts to an awful lot of money that the federal government loses. So that's the reason why we want to educate people.
How big is Medicare?
Medicare is huge. Medicare is the largest health insurance system in the country. It insures over 60 million people, Medicare beneficiaries, you know, people that are 65 years and older, or people that are younger than 65, but people with disabilities. So it's huge. And Medicare pays out on an annual basis, you're not going to believe this, over $600 billion. $600 billion a year.
And how much are the losses?
Oh, that's the sad part. The government estimates that Medicare loses about $1 of every $10 that they pay out. So estimates for 2016 range from 60 to 90 billion dollars.
Wow.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate because, you know, we're all taxpayers, right?
Yeah.
And it hits us in the pocket.
Yes.
But it's also unfortunate because Medicare fraudsters take advantage of vulnerable people.
Yes.
You know, people who don't understand the Medicare system. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy for them to trick people and to do fraudulent billing. And unfortunately, it adds up billions and billions of dollars worth.
How does it happen? How does it happen?
Oh, let me give you many, many examples. Okay, so it could range from a very simple example. So for example, you go to your doctor for a flu shot. Okay, everybody goes to their doctor for a flu shot. You walk into the doctor's office, the nurse gives you your flu shot. You sign a piece of paper with your Medicare number on it, and you walk out the door. You're a happy camper, right? But the doctor, when they submit the bill to Medicare, instead of charging Medicare for a flu shot, they say that they gave you a shingles shot.
Some doctors.
Not
doctors.
all doctors. Absolutely. And all of the examples that I'm going to give you are bad doctors or criminals who steal doctors' information. But unfortunately, it happens. So that's one example. Another example would be, and this is a true story, and it happens a lot, unfortunately. Let's say that we had a lady in Laguna Woods Village, and she was perfectly ambulatory in her 70s, and then she fell, and she broke her hip. Well, not a very good thing, but she went to her doctor, and she got a prescription for a wheelchair. Now, everybody knows that Medicare does cover medical equipment, right? Mm-hmm. So she went to get the wheelchair from the supplier. And when the supplier looked up her Medicare record, he said, "I'm sorry, but I cannot sell you a wheelchair." Why not? Because somebody had stolen her Medicare number a couple of years back, sent a bill to Medicare saying that they had actually given her a wheelchair, and wheelchairs are not cheap, right? The person who billed fraudulently got the money for the wheelchair, but she didn't get the wheelchair. But the wheelchair went on her Medicare record. And that's the sad part, because Medicare has rules. And Medicare rules say that you can only get a wheelchair every 5 years.
Really?
So here she is. She didn't get the wheelchair 2 years ago, but it went on her record. And when Medicare looked at it, they denied it. And that unfortunately happens a lot.
But when she gets the statement, they send a statement every 3 months, don't they?
That is true.
Yeah, so people have to look at the statement, huh?
Well, they don't have to, and
They should.
That's the problem. They should. And there's two kinds of statements, and we always tell people when we do our education.
Uh-huh.
There are people that have Medicare Part A and B.
Yeah.
It's called Original Medicare or Fee-for-Service Medicare.
Yeah.
Okay. They have not signed their Medicare over to a Medicare Advantage plan or an HMO, right?
Uh-huh.
They get a Medicare summary notice.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Medicare summary notice comes every 3 months, as you say,
Yeah.
if there is a service or a supply given to them under their Medicare number in that period of time. Okay? Now, there are people who have an HMO, a Medicare Advantage plan, something like SCAN or Kaiser. They're lucky. They don't have to wait 3 months. They get an explanation of benefits every month.
Really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're astute and aware, and that's what we want people to be, we want them to be empowered to take control of their health care and to look at those statements, if they come every 3 months or if they come every month. Now, the really great thing about Medicare is they know that the paper copy of the Medicare summary notice comes on an infrequent basis. And they want people to know what's going on their Medicare record often.
Yeah.
So very recently, Medicare put the Medicare summary notice online. So if you are a senior on Medicare and you're internet savvy, you can go to mymedicare.gov, medicare.gov, sign in with a password and an identifier, and you can see what goes on your Medicare number every day.
Wow, that's very good.
So it's important.
Yeah.
And that's what we do at Senior Medicare Patrol. That's the reason why we get the grants from the federal government. We don't charge for anything. We do education all throughout the state of California. We recruit volunteers. In fact, if any of your listeners would like to do education, we recruit volunteers, we train them on how to do our education, and we educate throughout the state of California. In fact, we educate about 200,000 people every year.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
That's part of what we do at Senior Medicare Patrol. Now, there are other things that we do.
Yeah.
We have literature. We have information that we publish. We have brochures. In fact, Esther, many of our brochures are in the social services office in Laguna Woods Village.
Oh, yeah?
Because so, like I said, it's so important to get the information out.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
We also have a toll-free hotline. In fact, it's very important to let people know that we are available for questions, for concerns. People call us all the time and ask, you know, I got my Medicare summary notice and I see that there's something on there that I really don't think that I did go to the doctor that day.
Yeah.
We will help them. We will research that for them. And should we find out that there is something that's potentially fraudulent, one of our charters is to work with law enforcement. And we will go directly to Medicare law enforcement, provide them with the information so that they can catch those criminals.
Wow, that's really interesting. You said that when somebody goes to a doctor or they get any type of help, they should write down on the calendar what kind of service they got. This way, they know when the statement comes. That's a good idea, right?
Exactly, exactly. See, you know your stuff, don't you? That's what we tell people to do. Keep a calendar, because we forget. I mean, I forget from what happened last week, right?
I know.
But you're right. If you look at the calendar and you write down the date of the doctor's appointment, or the date that you went for a blood test, or the date that you went to get your walker, and then you get your Medicare summary notice or your explanation of benefits, you compare the two. And if you see that there's a gap there somewhere, you're going to question it, right? And we will help you figure that out. In fact, we had a gentleman from San Francisco who had 3 inches worth of Medicare summary notices, yay high, of paperwork, lived in San Francisco, and all of the charges on his Medicare summary notice showed doctors in Kentucky and Ohio. And he had never been to Kentucky or Ohio.
Wow.
Definitely something we looked into.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna send out new cards.
Medicare is going to send out new cards. Absolutely.
Medicare is going to send out new cards. What's the difference between the new cards and the old cards?
Okay, good question. And it's really important for people to know that. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
We got a call from a lady from Hemet. And she said, and this just happened a couple of weeks ago, she said, you know what, I got a call from a lady named Sally. And Sally said she was from Medicare. And Sally was telling me that Medicare is going to send me a new card, but I needed to verify my Medicare number to make sure that I got the right card. And unfortunately, this lady from Hemet gave this masquerader her Medicare number. And then Sally, who pretended to be from Medicare, said, and there's going to be a $100 charge for the new card. So, what do you think she said? She asked the woman to get out her checkbook and read her the numbers on the bottom of the check, so that Sally, masquerading as Medicare, could take the $100 directly out of her account. Well, it was at that point that the woman got a little suspicious and she hung up. Thank goodness. But in the meantime, she had already given up her Medicare number. And that's the problem, because your Medicare number is your Social Security number, right? And you know what's funny? But people are surprised when I tell them that, because they typically don't look at their little red, white, and blue Medicare card. They get it and they put it away, right? But it's the Social Security number. And what is the key to identity theft? Your Social Security number. Well, that's been the way it has been from Medicare for over 50 years. And every once in a while, Congress will talk about, you know, it's very insecure, right? And we really need to change it, but there never really has been an allotment of money to do it, because it's pretty expensive. When you look at over 60 million Medicare beneficiaries, right? And replacing the cards, and then replacing all of the information and all the computer systems that the government has. Well, finally, a couple of years ago, the government finally said to Medicare, you have to take the Social Security number off the card.
So what is in the card? Is there a number?
It's still going to be a little red, white, and blue card.
Yeah.
But it's going to have a unique identifier. It's a 11 or 13 character identifier, totally random, okay? So that it's not as vulnerable as the Social Security number, because you know, Social Security numbers are not private. You know that, most everybody knows that, right? Key to identity theft, it's in hundreds and hundreds of computer systems all across the country, right? The unique identifier won't be as easy to guess. Now, the key to that is you still need to keep it secure, because even if it's a unique identifier, a random set of numbers, if somebody knows it, they can submit bills to Medicare and pretend to be you.
Really? Without knowing the Social Security number?
Yes, ma'am. So, here's the problem. We're going to be distributing cards, new cards, okay? Medicare is going to start doing that in April of next year, April 2018. It's very, very important that people know that when somebody calls and says they're from Medicare and they need your number to verify your eligibility, we want you to hang up, okay? Medicare is not going to call you and ask you for your Medicare number or your Social Security number. They already know that.
They will never call.
Well,
Would they call?
There are minor instances where Medicare might call. In
Really?
fact, we always used to tell people that Medicare will never call
Yes.
you. Well,
Yes.
not really the truth. okay?
Really?
Every once in a while, Medicare might do something like a satisfaction survey, where they hire a contractor to go out and phone people and find out if they're happy with their Medicare.
Really?
So we don't tell people that Medicare will never call you, but we definitely tell people that Medicare will not call and ask you for your personal health information. Okay? That's something we tell people that will never happen. Medicare already has your number. They'll never call you and ask you for personal stuff. Okay? If they do decide that they're going to do something like a customer satisfaction survey, they will send you a letter in the mail so that people are aware and alert about it.
But there is some scammers that still send stuff in the mail. Don't
Yes, I'm afraid that that is true. There are criminals out there, and they're always one step ahead. You know, and we always say, remember what people used to say about the bank robber Willie Sutton. You know, why do you steal money? Well, that's from the banks, because that's where the money is. Well, when we're talking about billions and billions of dollars for Medicare, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you don't need a gun to steal money from the government. You need a computer and a telephone, and you need to be very conniving and sly and a criminal.
So you have to let Medicare know if you change your address. It's very important.
Yes, yes, that is very, very important. You're absolutely right. So there are things that people need to know, and again, all of the information about new Medicare cards is in the Social Services office in Laguna Woods Village. We have this brochure that talks all about what you need to know. You need to know that the cards are going to be distributed from April 2018 through early 2019. There are 60 million beneficiaries, right? So it's going to take a while. You also need to know if you are a husband and wife living in the same house, the wife might get the card first, but the husband won't get it at the same time. Not to worry. It's going to be a random geographic distribution, and you will get your card, okay, from April 2018 until early 2019. Another thing that people need to know, as you say, the address on record from Social Security Administration is where Medicare is going to send that card. That's the way they use the address to send the Medicare summary notice, right? So if you've moved, if you're not quite sure that Social Security Administration has your correct address, you can contact them. You can go online, or you can call them on the phone, okay? Make sure that they have your correct address. Now, another thing that's important, okay? When you get your new card, take that old card with your Social Security number and shred it. Don't just throw it in the trash can, because again, your Social Security number is the key to identity theft. We don't want anybody to get their hands on that.
So nobody is going to use anymore the numbers, or when they call a doctor, for example, if they need the service,
Right.
so they just give the new numbers that they sent out without giving the Social Security?
Correct. And all of the doctors have been preparing their systems to accommodate that unique identifier. The government has been doing the same, and that's why January 1st of 2020, the Social Security number will no longer be used for doctors, medical suppliers, laboratories, hospitals. It will be the Medicare unique identifier.
Wow.
Now, the other thing I want to emphasize, again, because that poor woman from Hemet got that call, there is no charge for the new card. Medicare is not going to bill you. Medicare is not going to take money out of your Social Security for the card. It is absolutely free.
Oh, I thought that when you call up a doctor or service, you give them the number, the new number that they sent you, plus the Social Security that you have.
No, what
I thought.
Medicare wants you to do is to take your new card,
Shred
the
it.
very first time, well, the old card you shred,
Yeah.
the new card with the unique identifier, you take that to the doctor the very first time you see your doctor or your laboratory or the hospital after you get your card. Then you put it away.
Wow.
Because they're going to put it in their computer system,
Yeah.
and then it's there.
Wow. So what are other type of fraud that is going on? I mean, I know these commercials.
Oh my gosh,
sometimes.
yes, yes.
What about that? What
Thank
kind
you
of
for
commercials?
asking me about those. How many times do we see those pesky commercials, right?
Like what?
Oh my gosh, remember you'll see something like a little, an elderly gentleman or a woman who looks like, they're bent over and they're in pain, and the moderator comes on and they say, do you have back pain? Do you have neck pain? Do you need a walker, a wheelchair, a back brace? We have all of that equipment for you, 100% covered by Medicare. No money out of your pocket. It's fraud. Now, here's what people need
Doesn't
to
it
understand.
say that it's not by the government?
No,
Does it say?
yeah. If you can read that teeny tiny little print, it says
Yeah.
yes, but nobody can read that teeny tiny print. Now, here's what we want to emphasize. In order for Medicare to cover benefits, and there's a lot of benefits, right? We know Medicare is a great system. It's huge, and there's a lot of rules. The two important rules you need to know. Number one, for any service or supply to be covered by Medicare, it needs to be medically necessary. Medically necessary. Second, it needs to be prescribed by your doctor, okay? Now what happens is all of these criminals will try to trick people, and a lot of people don't understand all the rules for Medicare. I mean, did you ever go to school to learn about Medicare? No, most people don't. And the government sends you the Medicare and You booklet, right? And maybe sometimes you look at it and sometimes you don't read it from cover to cover. It's complex, it's huge, a lot of rules. But the two rules that are important are that something needs to be medically necessary and prescribed by a doctor. So all of these ads for medical equipment, or the television commercials, or the advertisements in the magazines and the newspapers say that it's 100% covered by Medicare, no money out of your pocket. That's not true. That's not true. They pretend that they have doctors on the line that are going to consult with you. It's not legitimate. So the government really is trying to shut those providers and suppliers down, but it takes a while to get rid of the criminals.
Yeah, you mentioned to me about hospice once.
Oh, yes.
There's some.
Yes, yes.
What about that?
That's a heartbreaker. It really is. Hospice, most people recognize the term hospice.
Yeah.
Hospice is
Yeah.
a Medicare covered benefit for people who are certified by a doctor to be terminal. That means that within 6 months they're expected to pass away. But there are hospice agencies out there, companies, who will tell you there's a new Medicare hospice program. You don't need to be terminal, okay?
Yeah.
And they get people to sign the contract,
Yeah.
which enrolls them in the hospice program. Well, if you're not terminal and you enroll in a hospice program for these illegal hospice agencies, what they will do is they will charge Medicare about $1,000 a day, not take care of you, and then, again, remember, it goes on your Medicare record.
When you need it.
And when you need it, you might be in trouble. Or hospice is only comfort care. Remember, hospice is palliative care. It's just to comfort you while you are very, very ill.
What about HICAP, H-I-C-A-P? What is that?
Oh, very good. Thank you for asking that. I was talking to a lady while I was waiting for you, and she was telling me that she was fighting with her insurance company and trying to figure out why she was being billed triple for things that she shouldn't have been. And she mentioned that she had gone to the HICAP to help her figure that out.
What is this?
HICAP,
what does it stand for?
HICAP stands for Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. There are 26 HICAPs in the state of California that cover all 58 counties.
Yeah.
They're county agencies, okay?
Yeah.
They get county money, they get state money, and some federal money, and they help people navigate through the crazy quagmire of Medicare and sometimes Medi-Cal. They don't charge for their services, and they're excellent. They know everything about Medicare, all the ins and outs and all the crazy rules, and they help people understand what they need to do to enroll in Medicare, how to change from one Medicare Advantage plan to another. They're very, very good. I would highly recommend them.
So now to summarize it, how can we protect ourselves? I mean,
That's the key. The key is, and that's what Senior Medicare Patrol does every day, all day throughout the state of California. Help people understand how they can prevent themselves from becoming a victim to all these criminals out there, right? So the important thing is never, ever disclose your Medicare, your Social Security number, or when you get your new card, your unique identifier, to somebody who shouldn't have it. Only your doctor, okay? Only the laboratory. And once they have it in the computer system, you don't have to tell them again, okay?
Wow.
Don't ever give it to somebody who calls on the telephone, because most of the time it's a bad guy, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So never disclose personal health information to people who shouldn't have it. And when you get that medical statement, if it's a Medicare summary notice or if it's an explanation of benefits, check it out. As you say, look at it, compare it to the calendar of events, and make sure that it's legitimate.
There's one more thing that I wanted to mention about insurance that people sell. I mean, when there is the new enrollment.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about
Yes,
that? We don't have too much
absolutely,
time.
absolutely. You know, we just went through annual open enrollment where people with Medicare Advantage plans can change their plan. The problem is there are some insurance agents. Again, most doctors are great, most insurance agents are terrific.
Yeah.
But there are a few,
Some.
some out there, who will talk you into enrolling in their Medicare Advantage system.
Something that you don't need.
Something that would not only do you not need, but you might wind up when you enroll in that plan that you can't see the doctor that you've been seeing all the time. Okay?
Oh, I
Or you can't get the medications that you need because that health plan might not have those medications in their formulary.
So they don't need to change.
That
when
is
they
correct.
Enroll. They don't need to. Once they did it, once they enroll.
And if they're
there's
happy
no
with their
need-
plan, if
there's
they're
no
happy
need to
with their
change.
doctor, there is.
Even
And
though you
yet,
can change
you
every
can
year,
you can change every year.
but you don't need to do that.
That
if
is
you are
correct.
happy.
But those, unfortunately, those insurance agents will tell you you have
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Well, it was so nice having you here. We learned so much.
Great.
We got educated. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for watching, and next time we'll have another interesting person.